already unpredictable season. The Highline Racing League shows us that there is no such thing as too much chaos. The field turns to one of the biggest tracks on the schedule. We're live on FTN. We bring you live coverage of the Highline Racing League and the Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series from the virtual iRacing SuperSpeedway. And as always, we are so happy to have you join us on the FTN Broadcasting Network. We're up in the broadcast booth here from this virtual iRacing SuperSpeedway. I am Kenneth Bueno. We have gone through a crazy season already. Season 19, race number 8 in 2025. And we step into uncharted territory, a track that in real life doesn't exist, only exists on the iRacing platform. There's a lot of lore with this 3-mile super speedway, and it will turn up the chaos as we get into this race tonight. It is a crazy one of iRacing super speedway to launch in the middle of an already contentious regular season where we're through race number 8. And if you don't know about this Highline Racing League and the way it operates, it doesn't operate in the typical fashion of a iRacing league, to where they give a whole schedule with tracks already predetermined for week in and week out. Highline decides they're going to go to a type of track. They roll a wheel right before the race session goes live, and they decide that track, whatever it lands on, is the track they're going to race at. Tonight is the only super speedway category race of the season. We kicked off the campaign at the virtual Daytona International Speedway, so that slices off a chance at going to the World Center of Racing a second time. So with the super speedways that we have in that small category, Atlanta, Talladega, iRacing SuperSpeedway, and even a bit of the Monza Oval, the wheel landed on iRacing SuperSpeedway. So that's where we are tonight. And after a season that's already gone kind of crazy already, adding on a track like this where the cars reach upwards of 250 miles an hour, it will be absolutely intense. And speaking of intense, we have seen things go back and forth throughout the point standings here in this Highline Racing League for 2025. Let's get a look at the point standings as we run going into this race. Our last event was at the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway, so that saw some short track action get in the midst as well. But for now, Lucas Lodato has the overall points lead, and as we look back, you see a bunch of other guys that definitely still have a shot. Pretty close throughout the top 10 between the likes of Connor Holden and a ton of others in there as well. So this is what it exactly looks like. Look at the big jump all the way back down through the grid. So everyone is still in this fight for the championship and still a long way to go. But right now, Lodato for Swamp Motorsports has the proverbial lead in the point standing. So not exactly a situation where he will be looking to, fall out in momentum. Tonight could be a chance for him to get back onto track and potentially keep on to the points lead. So that's exactly where things file themselves out as we get out of Bristol and we enter tonight's race from iRacing SuperSpeedway. And with the unpredictable nature that is this specific league, in the note that you don't really know what track you're going to get until maybe less than half an hour until the session goes up and that wheel is spun, and then you figure out what kind of track you will in fact get. It leaves everything up in the air. Drivers do not have that much time to prepare for whatever track they will face. And while iRacing SuperSpeedway isn't necessarily a hard track to drive, it is one where the speeds are so high, the pack racing is incredibly tight. Think of Talladega, Daytona, and Talladega maybe all mixed into one, and then you add on 100 times more chaos, and that's exactly what this track is. It is a 3-mile oval super speedway that has ties dating back to NASCAR's NR 2003 days in the Papyrus Sim, where iRacing basically got its start. The people who created Papyrus and worked on those games back then were the key spearheaded effort of people that helped iRacing come to life in 2008. So they enabled the Coca-Cola Superspeedway back in the early 2000s. About 2002, they put that on NR 2003, and then they rebranded it to iRacing Superspeedway when they brought it into this sim in 2021. So qualifying coming down to a close. That means it is our time in just a couple of moments to get you the starting grid of this evening's race, and race number 8 of season number 19 from the virtual iRacing SuperSpeedway. Tonight is college theme for everyone in the field, so we'll toss on about the college paint schemes that we have tonight and give you the details of who's running what and who's repping what university. So drivers are sitting behind the iRacing official pace car. That means it is our time to get a look at your starting grid for tonight's race number 8 of the Season 19 Highline Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series race from this super large 3-mile oval. Where on the pole is Dawson Buchanan with the fastest of them all, 46.271, gets car number 4 on the front row. Inside with Roberto Ramirez and his number 41 on the outside. Those two will be the first to see tonight's green flag. Back in row number 2 is where you'll find Sebastian Miller lined up inside in the second row from third. DJ Stagner will bring his number 64 car from the outside in position number 4. Scott Zellner, who ran well at Auto Club Speedway for the wildcard race last week, will end up inside the top 5 to start. Jim Falk in the number 21 car will be on the outside in position number 6. Jimmy McKee will line this one up from the inside of row number 4 in 7th place, and the number 54 of Kenny Brooks will take his car from the outside in position number 8. Tyler Hampton, J.R. Houston among those that round out tonight's top 10 in 9th and P10. That's row number 5. Corey Blevins in the Purdue Boilermaker Chevrolet will be inside of row number 6. Chad Winstead in his number 60 will line up outside in position 12, followed by Andrew Baker in the 33 car from 13th, flanked by the number 23 of Terry Brooks on the outside of row number 7. Connor Holden ran well at Auto Club as well last week, going to be starting from inside the top 15. Dalton Bierer in the number 38 car will line this one up on the outside of row number 8. 17th goes to Dylan Poteet in his number 31 car. Dylan Wedgwood in the 14 machine will be in the outside of row 9 in 18th. Austin Bloom and Jacob Hong, those two that round out the top 20 when we get tonight's green flag. Back in 21st is Adam Bossi in his number 27 car. Jason Harris will line at his number 88 car on the outside of 22nd in row number 11. Scott Wheeler Jr. will roll the 97 car from 23rd. Colton Gardner in 24th. That is row number 12. Back in row number 13, you see a pair of drivers that did not put a time in qualifying. That includes points leader Lucas Lodato going into this one with a pretty good advantage. Ty Smith on the outside in row 13. That's 26th place. 27th will go to Joshua Sim in the 51 with Joey Chapman on his outside in 28th for row 14. Caleb Morrissey, Matt Muir will round out the top 30 with Matthew Rodriguez and Sean Billman rounding out the entirety of your 32 car field from iRacing Superspeedway. And for Dawson Buchanan, going to be lining this one up on pole. We will probably see over this race, though, that you lead lap number 1 maybe for a little while, and then the whole field will come at you. We may see 3, 4, 5 wide, maybe more than that over the course of this race. And with Misfit Mafia, Roberto Ramirez, as I should say, on the outside of row number 1, he'll have a good shot at it with a Chevrolet right behind him. So as we mentioned, tonight is the college theme for a bulk of the drivers in tonight's field. It is one that is heavily anticipated, and the drivers are having a bit of fun with it as well. For the likes of Dawson Buchanan and Roberto Ramirez, they will be the first two to see the green flag. They are bearing college paint schemes, with Dawson Buchanan with the Duke Blue Devils and the Arizona Wildcats on the front end, and all around the number 41 of Roberto Ramirez's car. We go 69 virtual laps around the iRacing Superspeedway, and if this doesn't show you the miraculous banking that you have at this speedway, then I don't know what will. 36 degrees around the turns of this iRacing Superspeedway, and it is a very long lap. You saw the fastest lap in qualifying at 46 seconds. Usually don't see that often, but with these cars going about 245, 250 miles an hour, probably not a surprise that these cars go this fast around this speedway. This is one of those tracks where the restrictor plates are taken off, and, you know, in the irony of this race name being the Restrictor Plate 208s, these cars don't have them on the engine, so they will be unlimited as they rev down the front straightaway and the back straightaway as well, as they try to get into that very steep banking. The banking transition isn't necessarily easy here at iRacing Superspeedway. You go from about 10 degrees to 36 in a matter of seconds when you're going over to 240 miles an hour. It is a very sharp decline, and lots of G-loading for the drivers in sim. They won't have to deal with that realistically, though, but the cars will take a beating, though, and we may end up seeing a ton of chaos and a ton of incidents happen from the entry of the corners, because you stoop down so low just to get to the bottom end of that 36-degree banking. Let's get a look at the weather overhead on iRacing Superspeedway. located, I believe, just outside of Chelmsford, Massachusetts, where iRacing is headquartered. Our current conditions sit 68 degrees in the air. Track temp not as hot as we expected it to be, only 90 degrees. We may expect that to either increase or decrease over the course of the afternoon, but with our mostly cloudy forecast, we may end up seeing that sun not as prominent as we'd expect it to be. Humidity at a little under 73%, and the wind not exactly a factor. That usually matters a ton at these larger super speedway races, but south winds at 1 mile an hour will not be a factor to behold. As Dawson Buchanan and Roberto Ramirez will be the first to see the green flag tonight. Sebastian Miller and DJ Stagner may be the most important cars on this initial start. They will try to help out the front row as they get the headway towards turn number 1. The first super speedway race in its category for season 19 is won at this behemoth iRacing super speedway. And for the first green flag race tonight, Dawson Buchanan and Roberto Ramirez take us racing from iRacing's headquartered speedway, and a huge jump by the front row. And already they're crashing. The 14 car at the back of this field goes for the spill. And already we are under the yellow flag before lap 1 is complete. It looked like Dylan Wedgwood was in the middle of that. Ty Smith may have found some damage. The 19 car of Joey Chapman also in it. Jason Harris, Adam Bossy, Austin Bloom, Sean Billiman in the back of this field may have also found trouble as well. So not even getting to turn 1 before the chaos ensues. Dylan Wedgwood and Joey Chapman basically at the heart of this incident. We'll see if we can get a replay and find out exactly what transpired at the beginning of that run. So through lap number 1, you don't expect the field to be going that crazy, but at the back of the field, I believe things just stacked up considerably right where that white and green Zinn Ford Mustang is. He's on the outside of the very row. See everyone try to get antsy going to the green flag. They're going to stack up in front of the 14, and that's where Wedgwood sort of gets caught out of whack and gets tapped by the 88 of Jason Harris. Then comes in the 40 car, and then that's when Wedgwood catches the 3 of Billman, or rather the 3 of Austin Bloom. There's the 06, the 18 of Ty Smith gets away from it, and then Joey Chapman, who was right at the back end of this thing, was one of those drivers also involved right at the end of things. I believe there was another drive that did get turned as they were going through it. So here's a live blimp look at how it all transpired. You see the huge stack up that occurs. Bloom gets turned right in front of the 40 car. That's Colton Gardner. And there's a spinner right behind there. There's Adam Bossy getting a late piece of it. So it's a big time stack up there right as we were getting the green flag. Something we did not expect to see. And in that opening lap, that leaves Roberto Ramirez with the upper edge as they cross the line. Misfit Media will lead lap number 2. And they will try to reset things here at iRacing Super Speedway. Boy, probably did not expect to see a caution right as we were getting the initial start, but that's what iRacing Super Speedway would do to you. And especially here at these larger tracks, you have such a wide asphalt range to where you can go anywhere on this track, inside and out. I think everyone was just trying to get the best jump possible on each other to stay within grasp, but still an initial start. So everyone at the same time hopping on the gas pedal, trying to predict when the car in front is going to go, just so they can get a good shove entering turn 1. And all for naught creates our first incident of the night, and we will begin our first 3 under the caution flag. There's some of the drivers getting pit road repairs. That is Chapman in the 19 car as he's coming out. Sean Billman also exiting pit road this time. And lots of other guys have found themselves on pit road with the early damage. And specifically here, when you're going as fast as you are, the last thing you'd want is some damage aerodynamically. And we've talked at a lot of other super speedways just how important that is to have a clean race car over the course of the race, because if you do find yourself either in a crash or even in a minimal incident that gets you a hit to the outside wall, gets you a hit to another driver, either on the inside or the outside, you get a slight crinkle on any point of this race car, and the speed will decrease down the straightaways, made even worse and exacerbated by the fact that this is the largest track, super speedway-wise, of them all. So you are spending a bulk of this lap on the straightaways from the front and the back, so you spend a lot of time trying to get as much mile per hour out of this race car unrestricted as possible. And the last thing you want is some damage, because that will cost you a couple miles an hour. And if you end up at the front of a pack, good luck. You may be swallowed in the water before you even know it. For most of them, just trying to dial up whatever damage is on their race car, and the fact that this is an early initial incident on lap number 1 gives them enough time to come down pit road and get these cars repaired. These are the Gen 6 machines, and a car that I haven't covered in a while personally. I know that David Kreutz has been around for most of this Highline Racing League season. I know the season prior, they ran the Xfinity Series cars, as far as I remember. So the first trip around with these Gen 6 cars that at least I've had broadcasting since maybe 2022, maybe a bit of 2021. It has been a really long time since I've covered Gen 6 cars, but it's sort of a welcome change. We haven't seen these cars in effect. And with the 10 years that they've gone through with the SuperSpeedway package, I remember one time in 2021, 2022, when they revamped the package and they made it really, really specific to the point where you had to be on par at all times with the runs, making sure you work together with everyone. And it didn't provide super, super close racing all the time. And then as soon as they re-envisioned this draft package and gave it an update before the next-gen car came into effect for the real-life Cup Series, they made it much closer. And you know, here at this track, I don't think there is a possibility that we'll see drivers get away from each other because of how wide, how fast this racetrack is. So most of the field getting their damage repair on the opening lap spill. And we're going to get our restart here, lap number 5 of 69 from iRacing Superspeedway. Sun has come back out, peeking through the clouds that covered us through the back and front straightaway quite a bit before we were getting the initial start. And Roberto Ramirez will have control on the outside of row 1. Sebastian Miller, who was on row number 2 when this race started, didn't really have a chance to gain position. For Swamp Motorsports, he will be on the outside with DJ Stagner, fellow Swamp Motorsports teammate, occupying the second row. Let's see if we can get a cleaner one, this time on lap number 5. From iRacing Superspeedway, Roberto Ramirez gets the field up and away, and here we go. First proper charge to turn 1. And a lack of help from the outside. Here comes DJ Stagner for Swamp Motorsports. Going to get the help from Roberto Ramirez, and he will take the lead, but question is for how long? Here comes the other driver on the inside, Dawson Buchanan, going to make a charge, and look at how these cars scrape against the asphalt going into the entrance of turn 3. It is such a steep decline, but it helps Buchanan get the run out of turn 4. He'll take the race lead. Ramirez will try to give one last shot at the 64 machine to get him up front, and Jim Falk in the number 21 car makes a move right behind Buchanan to slide into second. And as Buchanan takes control, he leads by at least a car length or 2. There goes Falk to the outside. J.R. Houston in car number 20, that UNC Charlotte Toyota Camry, makes a move on the inside. And he's got DJ Stagner and a couple of others right around him. Chad Winstead, Kenny Brooks among those that are trying to help. There is Brooks on the inside, that bright blue Chevrolet Camaro lined with the 54 on the roof number. And right behind them, that's the 48 of Jimmy McKee, that Indiana Hoosier Chevrolet that will try to make a move from the inside. But look at the run up top. The Eastern Carolina Ford Mustang of Chad Winstead makes the surge up high. Stagner and Falk move up to the front. And there's a good look from the rear end of the Exalta Chevrolet of Jim Falk as he tries to hold off DJ Stagner. And look at the mirror full of that number 64. You cannot get away from each other. We are nearly 3 wide. And look who's in the middle. Joey Chapman trying to make a move, surging through. He's got no help though, but he is surging at 245 plus miles an hour. He'll get the help now from J.R. Houston. He'll slide up high, looking for the lead, trying to chunk through the middle. We're nearly 4 wide in the midst of the top 5. And what a gain of position in the matter of a lap for Joey Chapman, who spun on the opening spin in lap number 1, heading to the first corner. And it doesn't matter. Chapman makes a move to the inside. He'll get the help from Chad Winstead. Now here comes the 44, Jacob Halm. He'll try to make a move with Corey Blevins up the road. Blevins to the inside. He wants second, entering turn 3. And the onboard look from Blevins tells you the story. Just how crazy this speedway is and just how much things change. There's the LSU number 81, Connor Holden, who ran well Auto Club Speedway in the wild card race last week. He's able to slide up to the front. Chapman in the middle of 3 wide, and Blevins now stuck on the high side at about 227 miles an hour. It is insane. Yellow flag out, though, for the second time tonight. Oh, and there's trouble for the Vanderbilt car. Matthew Rodriguez in a ton of peril. Dylan Wedgwood appeared to have been involved for the second time tonight. There is heavy right front damage to the Zinn Ford Mustang. And we are under the yellow flag once more here from iRacing SuperSpeedway. Let's get a moment and see how that's all transpired and how this developed at the back end of the field. It appeared it was a 2-car incident involving Rodriguez and involving Dylan Wedgwood. So here's a look at it. Here's Wedgwood with the run, getting the help from the 97 car right behind him. And that's Scott Wheeler Jr. who gives him the help. He goes in the middle. Oh, and there's the 33. Andrew Baker goes up the racetrack and sends Wedgwood right up into Rodriguez's front nose. Nowhere for Rodriguez to go. And all of a sudden, that brings out the yellow. So at that point, Matthew Rodriguez just a sitting duck on the very high side. We'll see if we can get a look from the onboard look from the 01 car. Yeah, just a hard hit. And nearly the front end tore off of the Zinn machine. Matthew Rodriguez with some toe link damage, and suspension is kind of messed up. There's the front clip completely torn off of his car, and so he will have to deal with some extensive damage repair on pit road. And once again, we are under the yellow flag. So in all of that, Chad Winstead takes away the race lead, and the Eastern Carolina University Pirates Ford Mustang is able to seize control. Jimmy McKee in that Indiana Hoosiers Chevrolet Camaro moves on to second. Connor Holden to third. Scott Zellner, Joey Chapman weave through the top 5. And what a move by Chapman. I mean, getting involved in that opening caution of the race at the back of the field with everything that's stacked up behind him. And all of a sudden, just weaving through the field like it didn't matter at all. Jimmy McKee will take the field, at least most of them, down pit road. So that is McKee, Holden, Zellner, Chapman, and a couple of others that have put themselves on pit road. I think Corey Blevins is in as well. And so interesting to find this pit call only a lap 11. Obviously, these guys did not come down pit road when the first yellow came out because they didn't put a lap in. But this is one of those super speedways where, you know, you have such a steep entrance into these corners from turn 1 to turn 3. And you're going so fast, around 235 miles an hour plus going into the corner and through the center in the middle of the draft. This may be one of those super speedways that surprisingly features more tire wear than you'd expect. I mean, think about the 87 cars at Talladega, how fast they go to the point where you do have to lay off the throttle pedal just to make it through the corner, or else the tires are going to go away. The right front will get out from under you, and you may find yourself either spinning from the rear tires wearing or going up into the wall from the right front wearing at a high rate of speed. And here at iRacing SuperSpeedway, it almost seems a little similar. Obviously, the banking helps you a lot more at 36 degrees, and these cars can take the beating quite a bit. You know, because you're taking such a strong load on the right front tire going into the corner, you're probably at a situation where, you know, give it 25 to 30 laps on a run, these cars will start to handle a little more ill-advised, and they will start to ail quite a bit. And I'm sure that these cars definitely tell you from the shoes. So not exactly a surprising call to see a ton of guys at the back, and specifically those at the front, take a chance on pit road because they understand it's a super speedway race. And just like they saw Joey Chapman doing that opening green flag run, they could get to the front given the right circumstances, given the right momentum. And I'm sure only at lap 11 of 69, no real level of concern for any of these guys. There's Holden's Go Tigers LSU Chevrolet Camaro, probably one of the better looking cars here tonight. And I love the college spirit for everyone on the racetrack. Not everyone has a paint scheme bearing a college team this evening, but to have some of them in that pride for college sports. And right after a time where March Madness just came down to a close and a national championship was awarded to the Florida Gators, and lots of these guys getting into that university spirit. As there's Sean Billman, who started this race at the back of this field. That is a mid-major car right there. We see a lot of Power 4 schools represented. I mean, you look at the Big 12 with Arizona, Purdue from the Big 10, Indiana from the Big 10, LSU from the SEC, the Powerhouse Conference. But how about a UTSA Roadrunners Ford Mustang, a gorgeous paint scheme that's representing the American Conference. And that was a former Conference USA team, as me, a Conference USA fan with the FIU Panthers. Cool to see one of the former Conference USA teams on display with the UTSA Roadrunners as we get ready for this next restart to come by us at lap number 13. And honestly, going over this race, I really want to see which conference has the most representation. I see a couple ACC cars in there. I know Virginia Tech is represented, Duke is represented, Louisville is represented, the SEC with the Vanderbilt car, with the LSU car. I know the Florida car is back there as well, so plenty of conference Power 4 representation. We may have just a full count before this race is all said and done. So the lights are off on the iRacing official pace car. Chad Winstead and Terry Brooks are set to bring us our next green flag wave at lap number 13. And Terry Brooks, a part of the Esquire Express group, with his teammate Kenny. We saw Kenny up front. He made his way down to pit road, and his teammate will restart this race from position number 29. Through the restart zone, Winstead and Brooks match even in the run to turn 1. Dawson Buchanan trying to help as much as he can to the rear tires of Terry Brooks, while Halm tries to push Dawson Buchanan and Chad Winstead. And they'll move to the inside. There's J.R. Houston, that green and white Charlotte. Number 20 on the outside. And here comes Brooks. Big run out of turn number 2, and he's got the lead down the back straightaway. And watch Joey Chapman, car number 19 in the middle, with that old Valvoline type paint scheme number. He works through. That's the Baylor University number 70, all the way at the top side of Matt Muir. And Chad Winstead will try and continue to push Brooks in that Esquire Express Chevrolet to the head of this field. No real proposition from anyone up top. Buchanan will try and follow Houston down to the middle lane, and a trio of Camrys trying to stop the Chevrolet powerhouse into the corner. And how about 4 wide? Buchanan left for dust. There goes Stagner. There goes Blevins. And a bit of Matt Muir still 4 wide nearly on the outside. And an unbelievable comeback for the 01, and Matthew Rodriguez got his Vanderbilt car all set and ready as he works the 4th lane near the outside wall at around 240. Chapman in the middle will try and get a run on J.R. Houston and make this a proper fight for the lead. And how about Caleb Morrissey, the way he's been able to move up high? The 6th car finds his way leading the outside charge. And there's a look on board with Morrissey and how much he has to deal with from the rearview mirror. It is a super speedway where you got to be very high on the mental acuity side of things. One mistake can take you out of this race. And there's a spinner. There's the 5 car going for a slide. And he'll take others with him in the biggest crash we've seen. Rodriguez, Brooks, McKee, and others involved, heavily sustaining damage. And there's the caution flag. 15 laps in. And it is a parking lot down the back straightaway. There's Jason Harris, his 88 car torn up. The Virginia Tech Hokies car not in a good place right now. Corey Blevins, strong runner right off of that restart. Front clip completely torn off. And just when you thought Matthew Rodriguez was out of the water, he ends up right in the thick of things. Thankfully gets away from it. But a lot of drivers collected in our biggest crash. Buchanan, who started this race up front, heavy suspension damage, and he parks it right on the first pit stall. And we find ourselves with our biggest crash of the night to date. We'll take a look and see how this all transpired. And this was at the mid-pack, where it all happened to come with Tyler Hampton in the middle of the field. He was running the inside lane at the timing of the yellow flag, or when it began. Is that red, white, and blue number 5 Valvoline machine on the inside. There's Chapman moving up high. DJ Stagner working with J.R. Houston. And already there's an established 3rd lane. But look how much the inside line jumps up. They make it 4 wide as the 21 car Jim Falk gets transferred. And I believe there's contact with the 7. No, contact with Stagner. And then there's contact with the 7 once. And then the 97 car, the main Black Bears machine, goes right up into the 5 car, or right down into the 5 car, and makes the accident occur. And that's Scott Wheeler Jr., who was right a part of that incident, who basically had started this whole thing. I mean, they checked up right around where Stagner was, and the 7 makes contact, then Wheeler gets into Hampton and sends him right up the racetrack. Rodriguez gets sent down, then goes Blevins, then goes Brooks, and then many others. Dawson Buchanan, obviously the big-time loser here as well, gets involved in this incident with a ton of suspension damage. Here's a look on board from the Duke Blue Devils, number 4. And there's nowhere to go. Fellow ACC car in front, that's the Louisville machine. And the 31 of Dylan Poteet. As there was nowhere for Buchanan to be. And the caution flag waves for another time tonight. Some plentiful here early on in this race from the virtual iRacing Superspeedway. Thankfully, these guys have enough time to spend on pit road to where they can be able to repair their cars. And, you know, we saw heavy damage to Matthew Rodriguez's Vanderbilt car, but he quickly came down pit road and the car was repaired and he was all set to go. Came back with a clean race car and he nearly escaped that accident there on the back straightaway. And he's going to recover in this field. He'll try to pick everyone up as a bulk of them did come down pit road. That does include the former race leader, number 23 of Terry Brooks, Joey Chapman, Sebastian Miller among those that also came in. Chad Winstead, former race leader, put himself on pit road as well. So early calls at lap number 17, presumably for those tires. And that leaves Jacob Halm as the race leader with J.R. Houston and Ty Smith to round out our current top 3. Boy, have we seen it all already from the iRacing Superspeedway. And mind you, I've only covered one race here before in my broadcasting career, and it was an all-star race. I have not been a part of watching a full points-paying effort done here at a track like this because, you know, when everyone saw the news that this track would come onto the iRacing service late 2020 and early 2021, you know, everyone sort of thought, this is the meme track. This is one of those speedways where there's no way you take it seriously because there's no way anyone would build a track this big and a track this fast, especially with unrestricted speeds with stock cars. But the old Papyrus guys and the guys that put forth iRacing in 2008 were super prideful in bringing this super speedway to the sim as a callback to all of those NR 2003 users that used to run laps here back in the day. And very special that iRacing will produce the next NASCAR game and will also be a part of unveiling the Gen 4 race cars to the iRacing service sooner than later in one of our future builds. So that'll be another full circle moment for all of those users who tried NR 2003, whether young and old. Doesn't matter what age you are. If you ran NR 2003, you would understand how classic of a game it was, how fun of a game it is. And so to see iRacing go full circle on it, and I guess tonight go full circle tonight with this specific track on tap for a points-paying race, it is pretty fun. There are a lot more college cars at the front of this field represented now. The American represented by J.R. Houston and that UNC Charlotte, 49ers number 20, Cincinnati State. On behalf of Jacob Halm, who will have control of this restart from the outside lane. And then the Florida Gators, number 18, Ty Smith. Very happy probably to see his Gators take away the men's basketball championship over the last week after that nail-biting W over Houston. The way they came back from down 12 in the second half of that game to come back. And you can see national champion, the logo on the front of the 18. He will try and help J.R. Houston to get the lead once they get to turn 1. Restart indiscretion of car number 44. Halm brings us back underway from iRacing Superspeedway at lap number 19 with 50 laps to go. Houston goes up high to try and help. And there's the 54 of Kenny Brooks, that Esquire Express Chevrolet, working his way into the podium. Smith, Lodato, Holden, and company trying to figure out where they're going to be on the inside and outside lanes. And how about one guy trying to make it work from the top side? The Pittsburgh Panthers car, the 33 of Andrew Baker, gets set through the middle. And now here comes the entire pack to make it 3x3 entering the third corner. Oh, and there's contact. Houston door bangs the 81 of Connor Holden. Didn't see him coming down there into the turn. And so Houston and Holden escape. And all of a sudden, Caleb Morrissey, a shot out of a cannon, car number 6, tries to take the lead to turn 1. In an unbelievable set of circumstances, Caleb Morrissey has found his way to the top 5, and he'll get flushed down the order once more. Here comes Brooks in the middle lane, car number 23. As Jacob Holm finds at least no pressure from behind, Chad Winstead will push him to the lead, with Joey Chapman finding 3rd. 4th place to Houston, and then the battle for 5th on back is just an absolute arms race for the middle and top lanes. Brooks leading the middle, Morrissey leading the outside charge, and no one can say anything to Jacob Holm on the inside, but here comes Chapman looking for 3rd. And here's a look with J.R. Houston. The way he's been able to run tonight, so aggressive here over these last several runs, as he watches Winstead and Holm take control. But I'm not sure if Houston is in a position where he would want to streak out for the race lead just yet. We know this is a rather long race to go at 48 laps remaining, and if you want to stay on the inside, chances are you just want to stay where you're at unless the guy on the outside makes a move, and there's a hiccup from Winstead. It allows Houston to break free for 2nd. He'll try and take away the 2nd spot, maybe to 1st if he can catch up to Jacob Holm. And now it's up to Winstead to see what he can do from the outside, but no help from behind. Corey Blevins moves up high, and now the leader gets turned. Houston gets sent into the wall, and there goes everyone in turn 1. Terry Brooks, Jacob Holm, Scott Wheeler, and many others collected as the 44 car got turned head-on into the inside wall. And this is our biggest crash of the night. Queen City Racing and Jacob Holm not liking the effort there as he got turned into the wall, and the yellow flag is out again. A parking lot once more from the back straightaway on our last yellow to a huge stack up entering turn 1. We'll get a look at how this all began, and it really developed right where the race leaders were and right where Jacob Holm was sitting as J.R. Houston took away 2nd place. He got to look under Holm, and I don't know if Holm thought he was there in enough time, but he gets hooked into the wall, catches the 54 car of Brooks up into the wall, then goes Chapman, and there goes basically everyone else from Wheeler Jr. to the 14 car of Wedgwood. We've seen him in multiple accidents tonight. Caleb Morrissey was on the back end of this. And as a bunch of guys got away scot-free, there's the Purdue Boilermaker machine of Joshua Sim, and the 51 car gets involved. I just want to correct myself. I noted the 24 car is the Purdue machine, and indeed it is the 51, not the 24. So our yellow waves again with 46 laps remaining. And I'm assuming we're going to have a ton of drivers on pit road this time, either for strategy or for some easy damage repair. And the list of casualties continues. I mean, you look at all of those strong drivers in Lucas Lodato, points leader going into this race. The Ohio machine having to take some time on pit road about 12 laps ago. He's at the back of this field. Chad Winstead, who was super strong to begin. He pitted 6 laps ago. And then all those guys who are just taking repairs now, from Sim to Jacob Holm, Adam Bossy, Joey Chapman, who is having to work his way through the field many times on end. And yeah, that's a beat-up number 19 Camry. That's for sure. That's a crab-walking car on the straightaway. And so we'll be at the mercy of the iRacing official pace car as many elect to come down pit road. Andrew Baker, Matt Muir, Kenny Brooks, J.R. Houston going to lead them all in to the pit lane this time by. So a consensus call for the entire field, who had been on but just about 7-lap-old tires. You know, obviously they were collected in the big crash, whether it be a bit of damage or a lot more. And so everyone will come in this time. There's Houston with a bit of that right rear damage that easily got settled. And so Corey Blevins will take a hand at the race lead with only a couple of others to stay out. Tyler Hampton, Jimmy McKee, Dylan Poteet, and then the points leader of Lucas Lodato is going to hang out his hand out the window and say, hey, I want to keep my points lead after a race like this. I'm going to stay out and go for the track position. And, you know, a product of a lot of the incidents, obviously the big runs, the different lanes, and the prediction game of where the car in front is going to block. Now, we've seen that a lot over the course of this race, but one thing that we have also kind of noted internally, but we haven't said yet, is the ricochet up the racetrack from the inside lane. And we go back to that steep decline into the 36-degree banking because, you know, you go in from these straightaways and you have banking, of course, but it pales in comparison to what you find when you actually get into the turn, and the transition is pretty harsh. The car slams itself onto the ground. And that's why you've seen throughout the green flag laps, the sparks coming out from the rear end of these Gen 6 stock cars. That's because they are basically right on the ground, scraping against this asphalt as they're entering the corner at such a high rate of speed. And when you see that happen, you also take note of what happens when you start turning the wheel. More often than not, because of that harsh transition, those guys who are running fast laps on the inside, you know, sure, while they have the shortest way around this 3-mile superspeedway, they have to deal with the brunt of the car sliding up the banking and wanting to go up the racetrack. So you'll see a lot of times, many crashes are developed from the entry of turn 1 and turn 3 because the inside line feels that harsh transition. They go up the banking, and those guys in the middle have a less harsh transition into the corner. So they usually keep their line, but those guys in the bottom wash up slightly, and from there, that's where you find the bit of contact that can send a car spinning, send a car hip checking into another, and then that domino effect will create a big crash or a crash in general. It doesn't matter how many cars are stacked up in it. You can almost think to it as Atlanta Motor Speedway, just on a much faster and larger scale, because Atlanta, as a 1.5 mile superspeedway, is such a short track for that style of draft racing, to where you're carrying such a high rate of speed on the inside. You have to lift off the throttle a little bit when you're going down into the corner, because if not, the right front tire starts squealing, you go up the racetrack washing up, and then that's the product of a ton of accidents that we've seen prior at tracks like the newly revamped Atlanta Superspeedway. Not the product of our most recent caution. That is a big run that was nearly blocked by Jacob Holm, and that yellow comes out with our biggest crash of the night. Thankfully, a bulk of the field is going to stay. J.R. Houston, who was slightly involved in that crash, will be on the outside of row number 5, so just on the edge of the top 10, with Matthew Rodriguez in that Vanderbilt Toyota Camry to the inside. Remember, Dawson Buchanan, who started this race up front, had the heavy front-end damage after a crash on the backstretch. Well, he's back into this deal. He's inside the top 6 when we get back to green. So it's Corey Blevins for the Flat Out Esports Camp that will take some laps led up front. Tyler Hampton will join him from the outside lane of the front row. Then we'll try to react to each other. And the Hoosier Buckeye Racing Chevrolet will play the reaction game to the restart zone. Blevins and Jimmy McKee will have the advantage of pushing each other to the green flag restart. And green flag once again displays from iRacing Superspeedway. A wonderful jump by the 24 machine. Look inside, surging is Matt Muir in that Baylor University Toyota Camry. And Jimmy McKee will try to help the 24 car to turn 1. And a solid run by Blevins. Hampton will help. And McKee will give a monumental shove to the back end of Blevins' Chevrolet Camaro as they enter turn 3. And Dylan Poteet and that beautiful looking Louisville Toyota Camry gets a look at the front, trying to push Hampton to the lead. And a look on board from Poteet, and watch the big run they get down this long front straightaway, nearly getting Hampton all squirrely going into turn 1, but he's going to be able to get Hampton to the top spot. Hampton washes down low and blocks the run by Dawson Buchanan and company. They'll be to the inside. Poteet will have the lead from the outside, and the Duke Blue Devils Toyota works his way back to second. Poteet slides himself right into 4th, and no response from the outside lane yet. Just how quickly they got to single file racing, a couple car lengths in front from the bottom end of the speedway, and nowhere to be found is Corey Blevins. Got sucked into the pack, and he's back in P6, now falling to the top 11. And now it's about who's going to lead the charge up high. Joey Chapman wants that responsibility again. It was Matt Muir in the Baylor University car took control. Now Matthew Rodriguez goes up high. He wants the lead from the top side. He'll take away 5th. And bearing the university that upset Alabama in the college football season early on from SEC play A beautiful gold and black Toyota will try and push to the front. Only one bit of help, though. So there won't be as much momentum for those two cars up high. Joey Chapman through the middle. And Chad Winstead, the solo car in that middle and tertiary lane. So the inside has the advantage. Everyone single file for the first 5 to 6 car lengths. And then Chapman trying to fight for P7 with Sebastian Miller. And now they'll work up high. They'll see what they can do. Here comes the 48 of Jimmy McKee. He'll step into third. Now Buchanan wants to look at the outside. He'll try to find some help in clean air. McKee looks to the inside to push through on the momentum. He'll try to carve through the middle. And the Indiana Hoosier, number 48, Jimmy McKee takes the lead down the back straightaway. And what happens with Dawson Buchanan? He's going to be right in the middle of 3 wide as they come back to the corner. Here's a look on board from Chapman. And this gives you a good look as to how chaotic this iRacing Superspeedway is. Look at the move down low and how Chapman said, no way, I'm not going to go with you then. That was Sebastian Miller in the Red Bull Chevrolet who tried to work to the inside. He'll pick up some help from Ty Smith on the bottom end of the speedway, but still a lot of work cut out for them. Dawson Buchanan gets a push from Scott Zellner, and so they will try at organizing a run to beat these guys up front. J.R. Houston slides to second, gets in front of Tyler Hampstead. And Chad Winstead and Tyler Hampton will work together on the inside. Now Winstead wants the top. He'll wiggle the 5 car down to the inside. And this is pandemonium at 240 miles an hour. Here's the onboard look from McKee. The first time we see that Indiana Hoosiers car up front. Now he's going to get split through the middle. J.R. Houston surged to the inside, and now he wants a shot at the race lead. And so does the Kentucky Wildcats 19 of Joey Chapman. And all of a sudden, the man who led this field to the restart, Corey Blevins, all of a sudden is back in it. He'll try to work through the middle. There's DJ Stagner, the fellow Hendrick Motorsports Fonted car. And now we are 4 wide for the lead entering turn 3. And a bulk of those Swamp Motorsports cars are going to try to get themselves a good run. I mean, Lucas Lodato is not too far away. And some of the teammates for DJ Stagner are waiting for him to take control. Ty Smith a couple of car lengths back. And you've got a bunch of others in there as well. Connor Holden, Sebastian Miller. They were trudged through the mid-pack, and they're going to try and resurge here. But the momentum all in favor of car number 64. He'll lead them past halfway with Dylan Poteet and J.R. Houston right in tow with him. The inside still has momentum. Now Houston wants to look at the inside. Negated entering the corner. And Scott Wheeler Jr., who put himself right in the middle of a crash earlier on in this race, now put him in 4th. And the exit of turn 4 has been a trouble spot for those front 2 leading the group into the turn 1 area of this racetrack, because Houston and company have not been shy at peeking underneath. And as soon as you see a car called inside by the iRacing spotter or by a teammate spotter, you have know what to do but to just block. And a lot of times, more often than not, you won't be able to block fully. And a lot of times that has created the accidents. That's what happened between Houston and Halm to create one of our biggest accidents of the night entering turn 1. Halm didn't really expect Houston to be down there, tried to send the block a little too late, and that was all she wrote for the crash. But Houston in the 49ers Charlotte number 20 will take control, but the main Black Bears Scott Wheeler car will say, I want a bit more, and so does Corey Blevins. Tucked through the middle, 3 wide for the lead. Unbelievable pass to turn 1 by Corey Blevins, and had a shot from behind by Dawson Buchanan. And all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, Corey Blevins retains control. Remember, Jimmy McKee, Tyler Hampton, that were at once in the top 3 in this race, they are nearly at the back end of this middle group. And there's Houston giving a touch to Ty Smith. And they'll try to work together here out of turn 4 to get Smith to the inside. For now, it's all for naught. Ty Smith with a bit of a wiggle off the back end of the number 4 car of Dawson Buchanan. And they will stay single file as they work towards turn number 1 for another time. And look at the line that Houston is using into the corner. I think he understands just how much these cars wash up the corner. So he tries to take a higher arc. He hooks the 18 sideways, but Smith is going to save it. Unbelievable save by Ty Smith. And Houston is a flamethrower. He is all over this speedway looking for any advantage he can get. And that goes very down to the line that he runs into the corner. He works up high to arc the car as low as possible. And these straightaways have been his target points. The Hunter moves up high. Houston will get help from Tyler Hampton and his number 5 Chevrolet. A tertiary line in development. Jimmy McKee gonna push Hampton right to the back end of Houston's Toyota. And now Houston takes the lead. Still side by side in the middle of the corner. And I don't know whether you want to be entertained or worried at this juncture of the race. Now past halfway, a look on board with Jason Harris, who had his car torn up earlier in this race and has somehow been able to recoup and get himself back underway on the bottom end of 3 wide. Poteet, that red and black Louisville car through the middle. Joey Chapman, the rookie stripe driver, through the middle as well, in that Kentucky Wildcats car. And the 81 machine at the top with help from Chad Winstead. And as Connor Holden looking for a bit of the insight from the tertiary lane. And so they'll do what they can, all in the effort to push J.R. Houston to the front of this field. And they have put back Corey Blevins to third on the inside lane. Now it's Jimmy McKee who will command the effort down the inside. How about 4 wide as Hampton got left for dead, and so did Houston. Joey Chapman to the race lead. And it takes a couple of laps for those guys at the top side to find momentum, but as soon as they do, it's nearly game over. And their momentum is too strong to handle for those at the very inside of the racetrack. And now those 2 purple and yellow machines of Connor Holden and Chad Winstead will work together. McKee will float through the middle. He'll find the help from Wheeler's Maine Black Bears Ford Mustang. They'll ditch Chapman to the inside of the racetrack. Terry Brooks will pick up the lone Chapman on the inside of the racetrack. And Connor Holden, how about the 81, snagging the race lead in the LSU car. Connor Holden, one of those front runners at the end of that Auto Club race that was considered a wild card. Didn't really know what track we were going to get last week. And all of a sudden we get that famed 2-miler in Fontana. And things ended up working out for Connor Holden and a couple of other drivers at the front. And now Holden will take some laps led. Here at iRacing SuperSpeedway, Corey Blevins is fainting up high, but with no help. The other car that's in the way is going to be Dylan Poteet, and maybe even a bit of the Highline car, the 88 of Harris, as he'll work up high. They'll make it 3 abreast, all right behind Holden's Go Tigers Chevrolet. You know, count them all. I don't even know how many race leaders we've had tonight, but it has been astounding. That's a product of the racing you'll find here at iRacing SuperSpeedway. And again, much more unpredictable than you'd find at, you know, the regular Talladega, regular Atlanta Motor Speedway. Even though Atlanta at the time when it was renovated was not regular at all. Oh boy, Terry Brooks got a shot from the rear end, nearly got turned in the middle end of the raceway. I think that was Hampton that gave him a shot. And it was a slight tap to the quarter panel of that bright yellow Chevrolet, but Brooks is going to hang on to it. We stay green with 29 laps to go, and so far through our longest green flag run of the night. J.R. Houston, who has been one of the most dominant cars at the front, trying to peek through the middle. He'll find help from the ACC Duke Blue Devils car of Buchanan. Still nobody yet to make a response to Holden's approach to get to the front. And as we get down to the final 28 laps here from iRacing SuperSpeedway, Connor Holden, Jimmy McKee, Scott Wheeler Jr. through your top 3 back to the stripe. Why don't we crank it up here on FTN? And that was our Crank It Up segment, nearly deadlocked for the lead. J.R. Houston got sent out of line, and it was Corey Blevins who looked to the middle. But everyone chasing the Indiana Hoosier McKee machine. Poteet slides into a race-high second, Dawson Buchanan third, and then the fight is on for everything behind them. Joey Chapman and J.R. Houston, your current top 5. As we get into the final 25 here from iRacing Superspeedway. And for what it's worth, we have seen a ton of draft racing where everyone's working together, but what we haven't seen as much are the teammates working in tandem. Usually at these super speedways, you find teammates where you find them, and usually they work together at a bulk of these racetracks to work as fluently as possible, get organization together, and usually when you're organized, you are fast. But for the most part, we really haven't seen the teammate factor be that big of an issue this evening or a prominent part of this race. We've seen everyone in a free-for-all, basically finding who can help them at any given moment and ditching each other whenever they like. It's not really a teammate game here at iRacing Superspeedway, and the example comes right in the driver who's fighting for the lead right now. The outside charge led by J.R. Houston, who is one of those drivers as a part of the Misfit Mafia group, with his teammate Ryan Hines, Roberto Ramirez, who started this race on the outside of the front row, and Casey Heschel. And in this race, only one of his teammates has been up front, but he hasn't been there for long in Ramirez. And Ramirez right now just taps in 26th place all the way at the back end of this main pack. And so Houston hasn't really found friends in the form of teammates. He's found friends in whoever is there to pick him up, whoever is there to help him in his swinging passes to the inside and outside for the race lead or for track position in general. So overall, haven't seen as much of the Superspeedway team factor come into play. We've just seen everyone go after it for what it's worth whenever possible. How about nearly 3 wide? Here comes Blevins. Swing down to the bottom alley. He'll take a charge in turn 1. He'll have the help from behind by Connor Holden as Poteet tried to look for the lead. He'll pick up Chapman in the tertiary lane. And how about 3 wide for 4th on back in turn 2? And now Connor Holden, who took control of this race earlier with help from Scott Wheeler, will try and look up high. Blevins will pick up Chad Winstead down the bottom. And Connor Holden brings Wheeler and McKee with him to the inside of the racetrack. They'll clear 1, 2, 3 with 23 laps remaining. And what a drive by Holden. With some of his teammates around him in Sebastian Miller, DJ Sagner, Ty Smith, Lucas Lodato, a bulk of them that we've seen over the course of this race. But again, Holden is all by himself when you think of the team game things inside this top 5. None of his teammates have really helped him throughout most of this race. We've seen a chance here and there where Holden has found his teammates and has gone nose to tail with them, but maybe 85-90% of this race has been all lonesome work. It's been honest and it's been hard fought, and Connor Holden will take control with Scott Wheeler in tow. And by the way, that is an FCS team represented on the number 97 machine. Obviously, when it comes to other sports, all these colleges are in the D1 ranks, and the Maine Blackbirds are certainly in that rank, but in the football side of things, they are one of those FCS schools at the lower-end division of college football, while Holden has one of the football powerhouses of the SEC in LSU. And then the Indiana car sitting in third. How about a team that made the college football playoff last season? And McKee has had a promising race this evening, has mostly escaped trouble. And that 48 car, always one to watch for as he tries to hold off the fiending run from the 20 of J.R. Houston, getting help from Matt Muir and that Baylor University car behind him. And you got to think with how long this race has gone, strategy has not really been a key part of this race. We've only seen a couple of times where the field has hit pit road, and for the most part, it's for fresh Goodyear Eagles, and, you know, a bulk of it for damage repair. But we haven't seen a lot of it come down to fuel strategy, and with this being so far our longest green flag run of the race at 26 laps and counting, and for even some of this field, it's 33 laps and counting when you look at Jimmy McKee and Corey Blevins in 3rd and 4th. Is there going to be a concern of fuel strategy, or can everyone make it all the way to the end? Because if there is a green flag pit stop strategy call that you need to make here at iRacing Superspeedway, I'm going to wish the field good luck. It is a not easy track to come down pit road at with the rate you're going at. And pit road speed limit is a little faster than usual. I believe it's around 65 miles an hour. And look at the chaos as they're coming down pit road. There's Morrissey, Blevins, and others spinning. and we saw 2 cars come up to the outside wall right before things got underway. And Dawson Buchanan was one of them who went head on into the barrier. Yellow flag out with 19 laps remaining in a wild sequence of events to hit pit road. And it's exactly how I brought it up. Anticipating green flag strategy to arise at some point. And nearly half the field was coming down pit road in that one swing off of turn 4. And we'll get a better look at how this all began with the likes of Buchanan. There's Muir. There is Chapman on the outside. Chad Winstead, I think, got a piece of this as well. So they're on the brakes, and they are coming in way too hot. Ty Smith gets a shot at the back of Corey Blevins' car. Buchanan does a wonderful job at saving it. But for everyone else, there is big-time trouble. And again, talking about 240 miles an hour, you're trying to get down to pit road speed limit at 65. Even that sounds impossible. Here's a look from Ty Smith. And he slams into the back end of Blevins' Chevrolet. And I'd imagine a ton of those guys who locked up all 4 tires coming onto pit road either had to deal with an unsafe entryway to the pit lane or just flat out sped on pit road and will now have to deal with those black flags that go with it. So the yellow flag displays again. Thankfully, Ty Smith and Caleb Morrissey have repaired their race cars for what it's worth. And even though we don't have fast repairs tonight, I mean, these cars have repaired quite quickly. And we've seen even the worst end looking of cars be able to get back in this race and have a clean one by the end. Pivotal pit stop inside 18 to go. And Connor Holden will lead them through. And for many, it may just be a splash of fuel and onwards you go. Scott Wheeler Jr. How about the pit stop for him? 7.7 seconds. And he will bring his main Black Bears car to the front of this field when we get the next restart. Some guys taking tires there. First guy to take for Fresh Goodyear Eagles, J.R. Houston with a 14.6 second stop. Scott Zellner there as well with 14.7. And there's where everyone sits on the amount of pit stops they've had tonight. It has been insane from iRacing Superspeedway. And Caleb Morrissey, who was coming down pit road when that yellow flew, and he was one of those guys who was basically 4-wheel drifting it to the line on the pit road speed limit entry. And the 6 car will stay out an extra time on an 8.3 second stop. He actually did get his stop in his box completed. So the channel lock number 6 will find some time up at the front. And we will try to do this all over again. And boy, it has been a crazy one. Morrissey, not sure whether he will let the field by and come down pit road the extra time. I think he will. So Morrissey will give up his track position. And so Scott Wheeler Jr. will take control of this race, entering 17 laps to go at the line. Well, it has been a crazy one from the virtual iRacing Superspeedway. Scott Wheeler Jr., the race leader with Holden and J.R. Houston, your top 3. Don't go anywhere. We've got more coverage of the Highline Racing League from the iRacing Superspeedway on FTN.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the virtual iRacing Superspeedway for race number 8 of season 19 in the Highline Racing League Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series. And our first Super Speedway category race of the year from iRacing Superspeedway. Kenneth Blennon with you on the call on FTN. And Scott Wheeler Jr. with a 7.7 second pit stop will bring the main Black Bears Ford Mustang to the head of the field as we come out of turn 4. Connor Holden has led a bulk of the laps tonight. His LSU Chevrolet will be on the outside with J.R. Houston and Scott Zellner. Keep an eye on those two cars as they will try to push the leaders through turn number 1 from the second row. Pivotal restart inside, 16 laps to go, and here comes Wheeler with the push from Houston. Green flag once again from iRacing Superspeedway, and this is a clear and away getaway for J.R. Houston and Wheeler to turn 1. And we've seen Wheeler be the proverbial pusher through most of this race. Houston, the proverbial leader. And now Houston wants more control in the clean air. He'll take up Connor Holden's approach to the outside. They will surge and take over the lead, but momentarily they'll pick up Rodriguez. Rodriguez works up high, 3 wide for third place, and the 2 car of Scott Zellner will try to pick up Wheeler to the race lead. We've seen more often than not Houston be stranded on dead water. But he'll still have Connor Holden to help. But by a car length, not as much momentum to take him to the head of this field yet. Rodriguez will pick up Chapman. And now they've got Wedgwood, who's been involved in several incidents tonight. But he keeps his head in the game, and he is still up here third on the very top, that green and white Zinn Ford Mustang, as Vanderbilt tries to lead the charge with Wheeler leading on the inside. Zellner, Winstead, Buchanan, your top 4 in the run back to the corner. And look how widespread this iRacing Superspeedway is. Lanes available at all times. Houston will pick up Zellner, wanting to lead a lane of his own. Now Rodriguez keeps faith that something will happen up high. There goes Hampton. There goes the 21 car of Tim Falk. As Wheeler will maintain control. We've seen that often where at least the inside lane has the advantage by 2 to 3 car lengths, but as soon as the middle finds a run off of a corner at least once, that's where things change. And even then, as the leader on the inside, you are never safe. Anyone could dive under that yellow line before you know it, and all of a sudden you'll get pushed through the middle, and your chance at the lead in the span of 1 lap is basically killed. Scott Zellner moves up to third. He's got the help from Houston on the outside. Tertiary line has fully evaporated with the likes of Falk and the others just waiting back in the ranks to see what happens and find more momentum and something to gain on the middle or inside lanes as Wheeler will take us through. 13 laps to go from iRacing Superspeedway, and all of a sudden here comes Miller. Miller to the outside for 3 wide. And you got to think to yourself, what position do I want to be in when these final laps come to a close? And that's barring whether we enter overtime and have to extend this race past its distance. There's the onboard look from Wheeler as he watches on with Chad Winstead, and Zellner tries to block off the momentum from the high side. It's DJ Stagner for Swamp Motorsports to get the run off the corner. He's got Sebastian Miller and Caleb Morrissey to help. The trio will make it work. They'll be 3 abreast through the top 10. What an unbelievable sequence we've seen. There's J.R. Houston in the middle. Help from the Toyota of Matt Muir on the middle lane. And still no one has cracked the code that the top 3 have put on the rest of this field. Coming to 11 laps remaining. And how much is left of this before the chaos erupts? 10 laps to go. Next time by when they cross the stripe. After this marker for 11 laps to go. And now here comes Connor Holden. He wants to look up high. He's going to try and help DJ Stagner. They'll try and be with each other. And now J.R. Houston goes up high. Muir has front-end damage, and he'll take others with him. There goes Miller, Hampton, and others. Yellow flag waves with 11 laps to go at the line, and a huge hit for Scott Zellner as he went head-on into the pit road attenuator barrels. And there's what is left of the front clip on Matt Muir's Toyota Camry. Oh my. It is a hellacious incident exiting the corner. And we'll try to see exactly how this all began. I think with Muir, there was some sort of contact or some sort of glitch that got him out of whack. And he is that blue and gold car in the middle lane So he will find trouble. This was Zellner at the back end of things. And that's where things transpire from Weir. He was leading this group. And I don't know whether there was a car that got in front. Oh, there it was. A hook from J.R. Houston got him damaged from the inside. You look on Brooks. Made the contact. Goes up in a Stagner. And there goes Hampton. There goes Falk. And there goes Zellner. Head on into the pit road attenuator barrels. That car had no chance of making it through at a high rate of speed. Here's a look on board from Zellner. This one will not be pretty. And right there, nowhere he could go. And he sees those barrels at the very last second, gets knocked into them hard, and then goes basically head on into the inside attenuator, and then the wall that follows right after. So the yellow flag flies, coming to 10 laps to go. And so that will shake up everything. Drivers will head down pit road, many of them for the damage repair. And those are plenty of strong guys that got a piece of this and will have to start this race from the back if they can even make it that far. Sebastian Miller, he was involved in a spin. He's on pit road. Look at Weir's car is crab walking down pit road. And you can assume his race is basically over unless he's able to work a miracle on his pit stall. There's Colton Gardner going by. Andrew Baker, among those that I believe have also hit pit road. Tyler Hampton in the 5 car has come down. There's the Pittsburgh Panthers number 33 in as well. And everyone at the back trying to repair whatever is left of their ill stock cars right now. As Scott Wheeler didn't really see any of the contact happen around him. He was way beyond the mess at the front of this field where there was no pressure for about 5 or 6 laps on end. And Wheeler will have control of the restart with Chad Winstead on the outside of the front row when we get back going. Well, just a quick reminder that if you want to keep up with all things FTN Broadcasting, all of our shows in the future, or any updates in the world of FTN, you can join our official Discord for race information, access to interviews, and more on our in-house broadcast. You can scan the QR code on the center portion of your screen, and to get up to date with all of the FTN coverage, hit the QR code and get involved today. Had a great race earlier this evening with the Iowa Cup Series Xfinity cars at Kansas. And was on the call for that. A very formidable run to the finish with River Page getting his first win. Scott Wheeler Jr. in a position to win this one tonight inside the final 10. But as each restart comes about and each restart inside 10 laps to go comes about, that means we are only getting crazier and crazier when you think of who's going to work up to the front and how high desperation is going to be at this point of the season. It's going to be intense given everything that's happened over the course of the year. And so all there's left to do is to just figure out what's going to happen. So everyone will get on their choose cone. There is the iRacing official pace car to pick everyone up. And Scott Wheeler will choose the inside lane. Has had a best finish of 7th this season, coming the way of the Monza GP race, our road course race of the season. Pair of 9th place finishes to kick off the campaign at Daytona and the 1.5 mile at Kansas. And finished in 23rd for the race at Bristol Motor Speedway. Has something happened to the 97 car? Has he run out of fuel? Oh my goodness. Scott Wheeler, I believe, has run out of fuel under the pace lap. So with 9 laps to go, coming to the restart, Dawson Buchanan will take control of the lead. And in an unbelievable set of events, we didn't think it could get any more dramatic. Scott Wheeler's chance of the win is dashed. Well, I don't know if he ran out of fuel. I think that may be an end-of-line penalty. Well, he got his car back rolling, so apologies there, but that was a wild set of circumstances, but he will give up the lead anyway. He'll be as far as 27th on this restart. I don't know whether it was a race control decision or what with Scott Wheeler, but he will relinquish the top spot. And we will go back. Green flag racing. With 8 laps to go, Chad Winstead and Dawson Buchanan, your front row, as they'll try to make up whatever's going to happen in these final 8. Green flag with 24 miles to go from iRacing Superspeedway. Easy jump. Buchanan gets to second, and Winstead holds on to the lead in a wonderful set of events, getting Winstead the momentum. How about Kenny Brooks making his way to third? Dylan Poteet, who's been strong as of late, he slides into fourth. And Terry Brooks trying to work his way from the high side, but he'll get split through the middle. We may be 4 wide before they enter turn 3. Brooks is going to mork up high. He'll follow in the tracks of Poteet. There goes Connor Holden, the third car in it, and always J.R. Houston is going to put himself in this fight. Winstead going to look at 7 laps to go at the stripe. And now you got to think of what Winstead is going to do to respond to the momentum up high. Surprised that we didn't see the Brooks cars work together as teammates. But Kenny Brooks is going to work through the middle. He's got a head of momentum from the back end with Dylan Poteet giving him the shove. J.R. Houston, the tertiary car. How about Caleb Morrissey making a work up high? He's going to work with Terry Brooks. Then there's Lucas Lodada, the points leader, going into this race right in the middle of things in that Ohio green and cream Chevrolet Camaro. Nearly 4 wide, back to the corner, and here comes Brooks for the lead. Kenny Brooks has been third, fourth fiddle for most of this race. Now he'll get nudged out of line. Here comes Poteet, and now they're crashing behind. Wheeler's involved, and so are others. Breer in it. The Uncrustable cars goes for the spin, and yellow flag again. 6 laps to go at the stripe. And we may nearly have an overtime restart. And the purple Uncrustables machine got smashed in a sandwich there off of turn 4. And we saw Scott Wheeler involved in that. He went for the spill. There's the damage on the right front of his Ford Mustang. And even a bit to the rear end as well. And so we'll try to take a secondary look at it and get a diagnosis of what exactly all happened here on the run to the back of the field. We noticed the fall off from Wheeler there with the penalty under yellow. And they were 4 wide. And the contact is going to come from Tyler Hampton. Gets into the 38 of Breer, which gets him into Wheeler, gets him into Miller. Tim Falk gets a piece of the action. Tyler Hampton has enough damage to take him out of this race for good. And so another look at it. There's the red, white, and blue number 5. He'll be the focus car here. He'll get right into the quarter panel of the 38 car. And there's Jacob Halm, who's 2 laps down in 30th place. Hasn't had a good run since his crash from the lead. And all of a sudden, it is a huge accident at the end of it all. And so we will have a yellow inside 5 laps remaining from iRacing Superspeedway with Dylan Poteet taking the lead as soon as that yellow came out. Didn't really expect him to be taking the lead. We saw how much Chad Winstead had worked so well to move up to the front with his momentum. The push from Dawson Buchanan, but the push from J.R. Houston, those guys in the middle lane, especially with Kenny Brooks, who got nudged out of line at the right place in time for Poteet to steal the lead once the yellow came out. It will have the Louisville car in command. And we will have a restart most likely inside 4 or 3 laps to go. The lights are still on from the iRacing official pace car, so we can only imagine that it will be about 3 to go max when we get the restart. And for right now, we are in the territory to have an organic green-white checkered race to the finish. However, if we do find ourselves with another yellow flag to come out sooner than later, we will most likely end up in overtime and try to finish this race in an extended fashion. But for right now, Dylan Poteet has control of the lead. I don't know how much that will last. And with the way we've seen the aggressive racing at iRacing Superspeedway overall tonight, even barring these final 10 laps, I think Poteet in the catbird seat, probably not in the happiest spot of them all. Got to play a lot of defense when you're just focusing on that rearview mirror. There is Scott Zellner, who is set to get his wave around, and despite the heavy damage that he picked up from hitting the barrels on a high-speed accident off of turn 4, he will most likely be able to pick up his lap back, and he will be adamant at finishing this race. Pair of top 10s this season for Poteet. He got a 6th place finish at the mile and a half at Kansas, which is to this day his best finish of the year. 8th place that followed suit at the virtual Pocono Raceway. And then Monza, the road course that took everyone for a whirl. He started 20th, and that's exactly where he finished. And then he got 13th last week at the Virtual Auto Club, or Bristol Motor Speedway, rather. And then Auto Club, which came after that. A wild race for many. But Poteet still one of those looking for a race win in 2025. So far, that has not happened quite yet. So you look at the top 5 drivers in Poteet, Winstead, Buchanan, Houston, and Brooks. None of them have won a race this season. None of them have won a pole this season either. And a bulk of the guys in the top 10 are in a place to win their first event of season 19 in this Highline Racing League. Miller took the opener at Daytona. Adam Bossi took the win at Kansas. Pocono went the way of DJ Stackner from the pole. Lucas Lodato in a big win at Monza. That's what helped him take the race, or the points lead away. And then Bristol going the way of DJ Stagner. And then from what we saw last week at Auto Club Speedway and the way that race ended, the wild card, it was an absolute doozy of a race. Scott Zellner got the race win there. Zellner obviously not in a position to win the race tonight, given the accident and how many laps down he is. But we have seen many different winners here in the opening season of the 19th here in Highline Racing action. And we will get this restart organically inside 2 laps to go. So if a caution does come out, we will extend this race to overtime. Poteet, Winstead, and company probably hoping that this one will stay green till the checkered flag. Poteet in the elephant in the room seat. Gonna hope that he survives here at iRacing Superspeedway to the tune of 6 miles that are left. Poteet, Winstead, Buchanan, Houston, and Wedgwood. Your current top 5 when we get this restart at lap number 68. And from here on out, 6 miles will separate these drivers from a race win. Many of them will be their first this season. And for many, it will be absolute heartbreak. Maybe some carnage at the end. They'll roll down the back straightaway. And it's a long wait around the longest track of the calendar. As we talk about ovals, again, we had Atlanta, Talladega, and the Monza Superspeedway that were available to choose from the wheel when we ended up with our Superspeedway category scheduled for tonight. And it landed on iRacing Superspeedway, and I'm sure it threw a lot of drivers for a loop because no one thought perhaps that we'd be racing here tonight. That's the magic of this Highline Racing League. You never know until you get it. And it's been a wild race tonight, to say the least. Do the fireworks continue? Dylan Poteet will have control of the field to this next restart with Dawson Buchanan and the fellow ACC car on the outside, with the ECU Ford Mustang to respond. Green flag with 2 laps to go. And what a jump by Chad Winstead. Him and JR Houston will surge up to the front. They'll take control before turn 1. And the mission statement, get to the white flag. Dylan Poteet to 3rd. He'll work up high. Help from Buchanan. And the Toyotas will find each other on the outside of the back straightaway. Winstead looking to block. They're swerving all over the backstretch. Here comes Corey Blevins, splitting through the middle, 3 wide. And can they make it to the stripe? They're 4 abreast. Jimmy McKee in the middle with JR Houston on the inside. Dylan Poteet, who led this to the restart, will take the white flag. And for right now, this race is official for iRacing Superspeedway. And it's a 4-car breakaway. But does anyone have anything for Dylan Poteet? As Blevins will find help from Winstead. He'll look to the inside. Tries to point in on Buchanan. Now Brooks will get turned to the inside of the back straightaway. We will stay green. It is a single-car accident. And as they run through the final 2 corners for the final time, we are 3 wide. Blevins to the outside. He'll get turned to the outside wall, and they are stacking it up. Who wins the drag race to the stripe? Poteet, McKee in the field. Here comes the 41, and Poteet by a nose will hang on for the win at iRacing Superspeedway. Unbelievable. And Scott Wheeler Jr., who rolled off 27th in one of our last green flag restarts, recovers to finish P2. And just when you think the leader at the restart couldn't hold it on to the stripe, Dylan Poteet grabs his first Highline win of the season in unprecedented fashion from the largest track of them all. It's ACC at the front. And the Louisville Cardinals, number 31 of Dylan Poteet, will celebrate here from iRacing Superspeedway. Let's get a look at how that all transpired at the end of that race. And it was all Poteet who led them from there. But it didn't seem like a promising restart with 2 laps to go. It appeared that he didn't really have the momentum. Chad Winstead and company were the drivers that really had the speed on their side as they were coming to turn 1. So here's the restart. Poteet spins the rear tires a bit. Buchanan is there to help. J.R. Houston gives the shove to the ECU car of Winstead, and they clear, both of them, before turn 1. And from here, it is absolute madness in mid-April. There is Wedgwood, who had been involved in multiple crashes tonight, with a big comeback effort in these final 2. Poteet goes up high. Buchanan was the loyal man to help. And then all of a sudden, Corey Blevins shot out of a cannon through the middle. Help from the Indiana Hoosier Chevrolet of Jimmy McKee. They make it momentarily 4 wide. And from there, Poteet was able to hang on. Did find some pressure, though, from behind. Buchanan was there to help. Corey Blevins is going to send a shot through this white flag lap. And it was a 4-car breakaway. We did not expect to see that happen. And then out of turn 2, it was Brooks who found himself head-on into the inside wall. But what a stance by Dylan Poteet, and here is how it all transpired. There's Brooks in the 54. He gets denied the opportunity to go up high. He goes down low and spins off the front nose, I believe, of J.R. Houston's car. Then comes Buchanan up high. Blevins wants more. He tries to peek through the middle, then goes up high, makes it 3 abreast for the lead. They're nearly 4 wide behind them. And that's where Buchanan catches the quarter panel of Blevins, sends them up the wall, and it's a huge crash. Jimmy McKee has a chance to win, goes up high, gets a block. And Poteet hangs on as Roberto Marias, Houston, and a bunch of others get turned. And Scott Wheeler with a heap of momentum and a lot of speed to the line. Maybe if it was a couple hundred feet later, Wheeler would have been the winner. But Poteet is able to hang on in an unbelievable way as we end this one here from the iRacing Superspeedway. Let's get a moment to take on the unofficial race results from IRSS, and it's Dylan Poteet with his first win of the season in crazy fashion by 15 one-thousandths of a second to Scott Wheeler in P2. Ty Smith in the Florida National Championship car takes away a podium. Sean Billman in the 06 started pretty deep in this field, but he recovers to 4th in that white flag lap. Jim Faulkner in the number 21 car ends up as the last machine in the top 5, followed by Sebastian Miller, Matthew Rodriguez, Joey Chapman, Scott Zellner, the winner from Auto Club last week, and J.R. Houston, who crashed on that white flag lap, still ends up with a top 10 finish. Back in 11th is the LSU car of Connor Holden, Colton Gardner back in 12th. Roberto Ramirez started on the outside of the front row in 13th. Dawson Buchanan was 2nd on that white flag lap, but he crashed and he ends up 14th. 15th to the 88 of Jason Harris. Jimmy McKee in the 48, 16th as he crashed out of turn 4 of the white flag lap. Dylan Wedgwood, 17th. Caleb Morrissey, 18th. Then Terry Brooks and Corey Blevins rounds out the top 20. Dalton Breer and Matt Weir are going to be the final cars on the lead lap, and then we get to all of those that faced casualties this evening from IRSS. DJ Stagner starts in 23rd, Joshua Sim 24th, Kenny Brooks, hard crash off of turn 2 on the white flag lap, is 25th. Chad Winstead had the lead entering turn 1 with 2 laps to go, and it was all for naught at the end with chaos. 26th for him. Andrew Baker is 27th. Lucas Lodato, the points leader going into this race, may have a little more to worry about next week as he's 28th at the line. Jacob Holm led a couple of laps this evening, but he's 29th, 2 laps down, and Tyler Hampton rounds out the top 30. These are the final 2. Adam Bossy in the 27, and Austin Bloom in that Oreo Chevrolet in the number 3 rounds out the field. So let's get a moment to talk with the man who occupies victory lane for just the first time this season, and it's the 31 of Dylan Poteet, and in unprecedented fashion is able to win this race outright. As we're going to try to join him now, it's going to be hard to get him. I believe I don't have the exact role to get him into this session right now, or into this voice chat. So we'll see if we can try to get him in as of the moment, but for right now, we do not find him here. And so we're going to try to catch up with Poteet out in victory lane. Then it was 15 one-thousandths of a second all the way back to Scott Wheeler Jr., who recovered immensely after how the race panned out for him under yellow, and he got a penalty and was able to work his way back up even in those final 2 laps, given everything that transpired. And we're going to try to be joined by Dylan Poteet now. Can't drag him in, but Dylan, we are joining you in victory lane from iRacing Superspeedway. Is there a proper way to describe the way this one ended for you? You had been a contender all night long with a restart inside 2 laps to go. It was pandemonium. What was that like from your perspective?
Chaos. I guess we're going to do a top 3 interview because we're all in here. But yeah, that was wild. I just thought staying on the bottom was my best bet. Honestly, I got lucky there with the caution before to edge out in front of Chad there for the lead, and it kind of helped me be able to pick the bottom. But yeah, it was chaos. My mirror, I was terrified, honestly, that last lap and a half, because the forwards pushed me really good and everything was going fine. I was just kind of waiting, anticipating him to make a move, which he finally did. And then the 24, I think, also went to his outside. So we kind of stalled each other out, and I thought we were all in trouble. But somehow, some way, survived off turn 4, made a couple more blocks, and somehow found myself in victory lane. This Louisville Cardinal Toyota Camry. Shout out to Dylan Body for making this scheme, and wild to win the scheme. At least it did better than they did in the actual tournament. So just great to be back in victory lane. It's this is a chaotic track. It was a chaotic race, and I guess it's fitting that I won the chaotic thing. It's wild.
You know, when the Super Speedway category was given for this week of the Highline Racing season, you know, iRacing Superspeedway was always going to be a possibility. I don't know how much the field thought that it would have the highest chance of winning, but it did. And you guys end up racing this crazy track for 69 laps, and you end up with the win. What did you learn over the course of this race? I mean, it seemed like teammates didn't matter as much, but help was obviously very imperative to making it to the end, and everyone wanted a shot at the lead, including yourself. So what did you learn over the course of this 69-lapper and through those long green flag runs in the draft?
First off, nice. But it was tough for sure. I learned a very valuable lesson to protect your left rear, because I got put like 3 wide multiple times in the race, so I didn't do a very good job protecting my left rear, and people kept getting underneath me and kept getting kicked out of the line. And I was basically I think I was pushing everybody up to the lead, and then I would get shuffled out, and I just never could get the lead myself. But yeah, I would try to find somebody I was with, like teammates or just any of my friends, and it just a lot of times we just kept getting separated because there were just so many big runs, and with the track being so wide, it was just so hard to really pick where you wanted to go. And if we were all on edge too, because we can't go over an instant point limit without getting DQ'd, so we're also being mindful of that. And it was just kind of chaos with the unlimited fast repairs that was not supposed to be there. So it just kind of, I think, ramped up the race a little bit, and it was just wild. And I also want to just give a huge shout out to Connor Holden, because I don't think I would have won that race if he hadn't given me that shot in the middle of 3 and 4. That's honestly the only reason I think I won this race, because I was stalled out so bad from us being 3 wide, and he's helped me a couple of times recently, getting me to a win, and he's raced me extremely clean for it. So he's kind of been like, I think we've been 1-2 like 3 times now somewhere. So it's pretty wild. But I just want to thank everybody I worked with today, and just crazy to be back in victory lane. I'm just super excited. It's hard to win this league, and I don't take them for granted at all. That's for sure.
And now that we're in the back half of this regular season, I think this win comes at a very opportune time where you're able to piggyback off of that momentum and take it into a possible championship run. How much momentum is that for you to win tonight, even though it was in the wildest set of circumstances possible, to have a checkered flag under your resume this season in season 19 and be able to run for the title as you guys work into these final few races?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps. I definitely didn't help myself early in the season. I've been kind of hit or miss on finishes and just not got all the results that I was looking for. But I mean, maybe it'd be a turnaround. This is kind of what happened last season when I won at Talladega. It was kind of like just kind of take the second half race by race and just try to improve finishes and just get to the end. I feel like I'm not finishing a lot of these races and just kind of throwing away good races, and just want to try to be more consistent. It's kind of been the narrative for me, and it was definitely fun. And I hope this really changes things up for the season. I really do enjoy driving this car. It's taken a little bit of getting used to, but all in all, just glad to get this Team Trap House carry me back in victory lane. And thanks everybody for watching. And it was great to be back here in victory lane and fourth career win. It's pretty nice.
I'm sure it's been a throwback for y'all to get used to these Gen 6 cars because Next Gen era came in and it seems like everyone forgot about these machines, but you guys use it this season. It's been fun to watch tonight from iRacing Superspeedway. Dylan, on behalf of all of us at FTN, congratulations on the win. But before we let you go, anybody that you want to give a shout out to or thank for tonight's run?
Just thanks everybody at Team Trap House. And again, thank you, Dylan Body, for painting this Louisville Cardinal scheme. Really, really awesome scheme. Glad to get in victory lane. Thanks to everybody I worked with. It's mostly the Swamp guys, and I was with my teammate Dylan Wedgwood there for a bit. But anybody I worked with, thank you tonight. And just thanks everybody for watching. And I guess we'll move on to the next one. And I can't believe I won this.
Well, Dylan, continue the celebrations. Congratulations on the win here from iRacing Superspeedway, and we will see you guys at the next race, which at this point will be a short track up to the wheel. We'll see what happens on April 17th. But until then, congrats on the win from iRacing Superspeedway, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.
That's Dylan Poteet with the win, 4th career in the Highline Racing League and first of season number 19. Does it in these final 2 laps, leading 7 of the 70 that we have tonight. What a comeback it was for Scott Wheeler Jr. The way, Scott, you were able to bounce back. At one point in this race, you were leading, and then all of a sudden, something happens. It might have been a penalty. You work all the way back. You restart in about 27th place, and even through the cautions, even through everything, you work your way back, and you were just quite short of the race win by 15 one-thousandths of a second. What more did you need there in those final 2 laps, and how would you describe that run to the end?
Yeah, I don't know if I could really describe it in any good way. I had missed the choose rule, which is why I ended up dropping back. So that was a little unfortunate. And then I just tried to find the best way forward and got a couple of lucky breaks, but it was just chaotic, just hoping that the traffic didn't come back up the track and hit me.
Well, nonetheless, I think everyone got a piece of learning here at iRacing Superspeedway, and you led some of the most laps that we've seen from the drivers tonight. I know, lap in and lap out, leads change, positions change, and, especially here, everyone wanted a shot at the race lead. For you, what was the mindset going into this one? Was it to be as aggressive as possible, or did you just find your way with the rhythm and the way of understanding this car in the draft to work your way to the front and lead as many laps as you did?
Yeah, I think everybody was a little unsure of what they wanted to do coming into this race. We had only been here once, and it was with the Xfinity car. So, the first 20, 30 laps, we were pretty messy. Then I think we figured out the runs and how you wanted to set things up and what worked best. Being in the bottom seemed to work the best. I spent a lot of time pushing Connor Holden, and that seemed to work really well. So at that point, it was just kind of controlling the lines like you would at a traditional plate track, and then, kind of making moves when you needed to. But there really wasn't a whole lot of opportunity to make anything unless you had help coming with you. So it was a little tough, but ultimately it worked out in the end with some of that chaos.
So far as we see it, best race finish of season number 19 with these Gen 6 cars. You've had a couple of top 10s to your name so far in 2025, but this finished the best one yet at iRacing Superspeedway. What's the mindset now as you guys work into these final regular season races and you try to work for a championship later on?
Yeah, I don't know if I can contend for a championship this year or this season. It's been pretty bad. I think I've been wrecked in the last 4 or 5 weeks, so just some bad luck. So it's good to have it turn around, and then hopefully we'll just build some momentum for the rest of the season and maybe get a win here and there.
Well, nonetheless, it's P2 here from iRacing Superspeedway. Scott, on behalf of all of us at FTN, congratulations on the finish. But before we let you bounce, anybody you want to thank for tonight's run?
Yeah, I just want to thank my teammates, Caleb, Scott, Austin. Austin had some bad luck there at the beginning. We've all kind of had some bad luck this season except for Zellner, but it's turning around. Things are getting a little bit better, so it's always a blast. Everybody in the league, Adam does a great job putting everything together, even though it can get kind of tricky and messy sometimes. He is what makes this run as smoothly as it does. I appreciate you guys putting on the broadcast. It'll be fun to watch it back, and then everybody that watches from home, appreciate it.
Well, Scott, we appreciate the time as always. Congratulations on the second. We'll see you guys at the short track race next week on April 17th.
Yeah, thank you.
Scott Wheeler ends up tonight in position number 2. And right at the line, it came down to it. We'll toss it to our third place finisher in Ty Smith. And Ty, I don't know if, if I mention Florida winning the national championship, I don't know how hyped that'll get you. You drove the Florida car throughout this entire race. You end up right here on the podium in those final 2 laps. What could you make of this super speedway race, whether it be working with the teammates or just working in the draft? How wild was that for you?
Oh yeah, well, first of all, go Gators, and yeah, it's been a pretty exciting week. Big Gator fan, and really happy that they won the championship, and it's been real fun. And it was glad to bring it to a top 3 finish, but yeah, it was crazy out there. Like I didn't know what to expect. I kind of tried to hang around in the back, but then I'd stay out, and then I would get up to the front, and then I would just fall to the back again. I just kind of, on that last lap, I just kind of held her wide open and somehow brought it home third. I couldn't tell you what I did. It's just the seas parted and a top 3 finish came out of it. That's about it.
Sometimes you just got to be lucky at these grand old super speedways, especially this one, as unique as it is. 3 miles, the credible banking, the great racing that we saw 3 and 4 wide until the end. We noted that there was a bit of pit strategy that was coming into the foreground, and you were a part of the crash that happened out of turn 4, just trying to get on a pit road. Tell us what happened there and just the overall communications of what that race was shaping up to be in that moment in time and what the strategy was looking like as well.
Yeah, well, my plan was to stay out right there, but everyone kind of checked up earlier than I thought they would, and I think I got hit from behind and ended up spinning out. And if I apologize to everyone if I caused that. It's just I wasn't anticipating them checking up that much. But yeah, my plan was not to pit right there. Me and my Swamp teammates, we were planning to pit the next lap, but that didn't really happen. But yeah, I'm sorry about if that happened to everyone, but at least it made for an exciting finish.
But still third place in those final 2 laps, and we were near overtime, but we ended up not ending up in that situation. Ty, you end up with a podium tonight. Short track next week. What do you expect?
I just expect to try to stay out of trouble. I'm not the fastest. Kind of try to stay right around, and maybe a good finish will come here and there. But definitely just to try to stay out of trouble, keep the car clean is really what I expect. But yeah, I don't really know.
I know this race, I think in general, even from my side, it was a bit hard to describe given everything that we saw. But Ty, congratulations on the podium finish. Before we let you bounce, who do you want to thank for tonight's run?
I just want to thank all the Swamp Motorsports teammates and everyone we worked with. And we got Connor, DJ, Dylan Poteet, he was there, Lucas Vidato, Sebastian Miller, and congrats to Dylan for winning. And I just want to give a big special shout out to Ryan Potter. I know there's been some drama going on, but we're all with him and we all stand with him. Everyone at Swamp Motorsports, and he's definitely 99 against the world.
Well, Ty, we appreciate the time. On behalf of all of us at FTN, congratulations on the podium here from iRacing SuperSpeedway. The Swamp get the national championship. You bring this Swamp Chevrolet up to P3. So congratulations. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, and go Gators.
That's Ty Smith bringing it home inside the top 3 here from iRacing SuperSpeedway. And what an event it was all the way till the checkered flag. Dylan Poteet getting his first win of season number 19 and 4th career in his Highline Racing League career. And after tonight's shenanigans with racing a track this big, now we get to roll the wheel and try another track. This time, we're going to go on the short track side of things. April 17th, that'll come your way at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And you can find all of the Highline Racing League action right here on the FTN Broadcasting YouTube channel. So, short tracks, a lot more of them on tap. Martinsville, Richmond, Nashville, Phoenix, North Wilkesboro, and IRP are on tap. We've already raced Bristol this season, so won't be a chance to race the Last Great Coliseum all over again. But if you want to keep up with the rest of season number 19, we'll continue our racing at a short track next week. We'll tell you what track it is when we go live. Again, that's 9:30 p.m. Eastern right here on the FTN Broadcasting YouTube channel. So that will do it for our coverage of race number 8 in season 19 of the Highline Racing Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series from iRacing SuperSpeedway. On behalf of Adam Bossy and the entire crew at the Highline Racing League that makes this series possible, and on behalf of everyone at FTN, for Alexander Balderas, Jason Alexander, David Kreutz, and for myself, Kenneth Bueno, we say good night from a track at 3 miles long and IRSS, where Dylan Poteet grabs his first win of season 19.